Hello everyone and welcome to the weekly Dartscast. It's Wim here from Holland and it's very cold outside. Here is even snow expected. So I would suggest you just stay in your warm and cozy house, grab a cup of tea and enjoy this episode of the weekly Dartscast, which is the best darts-related podcast on this planet. And it's time to meet your co-hosts, Alex Moss and Burton de Wit.
Hello and welcome to a new episode of the Weekly Dartscast. I'm Alex Moss and joining me, stepping in for the absent Burton DeWitt, who's not feeling well, we have our producer, Hanna. Thanks for the time, Hanna. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, especially after that weekend. I mean, I couldn't focus on anything at work today, and it has nothing at all to do with the waking up at 5 o'clock going, oh my gosh, Hendo has a tournament. How are you doing?
All good this end, thank you. Yeah, and we send our best wishes to Burton. Hopefully he's back to full health for next week's show, but we're halfway through Sexy September, as we've been calling it, and boy, is it delivered so far. You mentioned there John Henderson winning the PDC World Cup at the weekend alongside Peter Wright, the Scotland team, winning back the World Cup that they won 2 years ago. And that's where we've got to start. How big could this past weekend be for not so big Hendo?
That's the thing, is it's always these moments where it's how big could it be? And I do think that in cases of where you win something and you show so much aptitude, you have to assume an error on the side of it could be massive. It may turn into nothing, but it's, Hendo is one of those people that everybody just kind of roots for. Even if you love the team that they're playing against, even if you love the player they're playing against. I have never heard anybody say anything bad about John Henderson. I've not had the privilege of meeting him myself. But in terms of what he managed to bring out with the darts this weekend, if all he was lacking maybe up to this point was some confidence, then this could be huge. I mean, he took on Gerwyn Price, which I assume they figured that they would require Peter to knock off a hopefully significantly less informed Johnny Clayton so that they would be able to get to the pairs match. But he took him out. And took him out rather handily. I couldn't believe how fast it happened. It was blink and you'd miss it in my terms. So if he can knock out who people were choosing as the team to beat with Peter, if he could knock out the world number one, the possibilities for him are endless. And with that dose of confidence, oh my gosh, I'm excited for the Grand Slam. He could wreak havoc and it would be amazing. Big Hendo weekendo, let's have more of it, please.
It's got to be said that winning the World Cup, we've seen 3 players now win their first TV title in this tournament. Of course, I've got a shoehorn Co-Stompy in there. He won it in 2010. And fair to say he didn't really get close to winning any TV title after that. But Johnny Clayton was the next one last year, and we all know what he's been able to do. John Henderson, which way is he going to go? Is he going to go down the Stompy route or the Clayton route? Time will tell on that. But as you say, he's got his spot in the Grand Slam. He's only played in the Grand Slam once before, and it was before he had a PDC Tour card. He won the ITV wildcard qualifier in 2010 to get in it then. Since then, he's not been in it, but he had a good spell of getting into a lot of the big major PDC tournaments around 2017 to 2019. Then he started to drop off a little bit. We've not seen him in a lot of the events. At the minute, he's not in the World Championship or the Players' Championship finals. But this past weekend, it could be huge for him, and confidence was the word you used. I think that is the right word to use. Confidence he's probably got from this past weekend, playing alongside Peter Wright, the world number 2, and they just gelled straight away. It's amazing what this tournament can do, a new pairing, and how far they can go. And we've seen these two go all the way, win the title. Some of the performances that the two of them put in, especially John Henderson as well, in those clutch moments, the checkouts, the tops that he was hitting, the one to beat Gerwyn Price with his last start, the one in the doubles decider against the Netherlands, the 64 checkout on tops to get them through, and even in the second round as well, beating Krzysztof Ratajski, a player that he's yet to beat until the weekend just gone. So it was a huge weekend for him, and to get a title as well, you are going to struggle to find a more popular winner, I think, of a TV title in the PDC, because anyone you speak to involved in darts just says how nice of a guy John Henderson is. So it could be a big thing for him getting this World Cup and being in the Grand Slam. If he can now push on and get into some other big events, get into the World Championship, start to push his ranking back up. He is 46th at the moment, provisionally down around 59, 60 after the World Championship. So it's all about making sure that he can keep his tour card, and if he gets in a few more big events, gets to the World Championship, I think he can start to have a bit of a renaissance again.
Let's cross our fingers for that. Anyway, it was also a first ever World Cup final for Austria. Is this the start of a comeback for Mensur Suljovic and also Roby John Rodriguez, fulfilling his potential perhaps for the first time?
Yeah, big shout out to those two guys as well, because as much as it was great to see Scotland go all the way, Peter Wright, John Henderson win the title, it was equally as good to see the run that the Austrian team put together. They've been together a few times now. We all know that the bond that those two already shared, close friends, they've grown up. Well, Roby John's grown up with Mensur being around all the time, and they've played in this tournament a few times now. But to get to the final this year was probably more surprising than if they'd have done it in any other time they've played in it, just because we've not seen Mensur too much in the last few months. He only came back the previous weekend in the European Tour. This was his second event back after a 4-month layoff, but you wouldn't have been able to tell it from some of the games, some of the performances that he put in the second round, the 107 average to beat Kim Huybrechts, who himself averaged 108. That was against Belgium in the last 16. And then Roby John stepping up, beating Dimitri van der Berg. Okay, the game wasn't as high quality, but still getting over the line. And then the quarterfinals, Mensur dropped the first game to Brendan Dolan. Roby steps up, beats Daryl Gurney, a top 16 player with a 99 average. Didn't they come through that nervy decider? And then the semi-finals, it's going to be a long time before we forget that semi-final between Austria and England. Mensur with the 109 average, Roby with the 102 average, both beating Team England, the top seeds, and they dropped just 2 legs between them. And they had a great shot in the final. They went 1-0 up, they went 1-1 in the doubles. They were 3-0 up and lost that 1-4-3. And that is really where the final turned, was losing that doubles game when they had chances to go 2-1 up. But looking further ahead, again, a bit like John Henderson, this could be the start of something big for these two guys. Mensur, he's dropping down the rankings at the moment. He's down to 27th, but we're not sure of the reasons why he's not been playing the last few months. But if it's to do with motivation, then this run is going to help with that, isn't it? Getting to a final, and it looks like he's enjoying his darts again. Roby, we had him on the show a few months ago. He lost his tour card at the end of last year, and we spoke about that with him, and kind of felt like, talking to him, it was a blessing in disguise. He said that this year he's playing with no pressure. He's not got to think about what he's got to do to keep his tour card. He's been playing on the Pro Tour as one of the top-up players. He's been playing on the Challenge Tour, and he's got a good shot of getting in the top 64 at the end of the year without a tour card, doing what Krzysztof Ratajski did a few years ago. He's in the Grand Slam, as we know. Provisionally, he's in the Players' Championship finals and the World Championship. If he can get a couple of wins at the World Championship or one of the other events, I think we could see him get to the top 64, and he'll take a huge amount of confidence going into next year, not having to go to Q school. So yeah, like John Henderson, it could be a big weekend going forward for these two as well.
Yeah, and I feel like I know without actually knowing what has happened with Mensur. I mean, obviously we don't know why he's missed so much darts, but we have noticed that he's returned with some glasses, and I do think that no matter what Peter Wright might try to tell you, that being able to properly see is beneficial in a game where there's bare margins. I've also noticed his pristine white flights, which might make it even easier to see, especially if there's any form of problems with distance. I say this as somebody who can barely see my hand if I stretch out my arm all the way without my glasses. So to see that, and to see not only the encouraging signs, obviously Peter gave up his glasses when he felt like he wasn't making any progress with it, but it's not hindered Mensur, even though this is a big change to his literal perception. So I think that might be a key to unlocking even more of Mensur's already fantastic talent. I hope that whatever other health problems there are that aren't mentioned are sorting themselves out, even if it's just a general motivation, mental health situation. I know he's really big with his family. Of course, we saw him with his family on stage. Hopefully that's sorting. But also for Roby John, this household follows Roby John really, really, really closely. First of all, because it is so much fun to make up fake names for the J-Rods. Like, it's so much fun. Sincerely, he played better than I think we've seen him play, not recently, possibly ever. He's always had a potential to do more than he's done, which is why it always seemed kind of distressing that he wasn't able to hold on to that tour card, because it seemed like maybe he would kick on a little bit more. But in an event where people just regularly assume that one player is instantly stronger than the other, I think, especially with our two teams that ended up to the finals, we saw it be an equal distribution of weight. Anybody who thought Mensur was going to haul Australia through any meager wins they might achieve did not foresee the storm that Roby was bringing, and he just brought another level to his game. And again, it's seeing all three of those people adding to the Grand Slam is just so exciting, because I was excited for the Grand Slam anyway. But wow, if that's something that they've been capable of, I mean, the checkouts that Roby was taking out were ridiculous. Absolutely insane, especially the James Wade match was bonkers to me. I still can't fathom it. We all saw it. It still makes no sense. And it's just good to see people that historically or more recently have started to slide a bit in their game or haven't kicked on in the way just make a big statement. And I really hope that he is fulfilling his potential as we're wording it. Seems weird. Come back for Mensur as we're also wording that. I just hope that we see more strong displays, because I want to see more of what I just saw. It was amazing. They have it in them. Hopefully they use it more. That would be great.
More World Cup chat coming up, but first let's get into our first guest on this week's show, and it is with Latvia's number one, Madars Razma.
I'm pleased to say I'm joined by Latvia's number one, Madars Razma. Thanks for the time, Madars. How are you doing?
Thank you. I'm fine. I'm at home. I enjoy time with my family and looking forward for the next tournament in Denmark.
Yes, that's the place we're going to start. When we're talking this time next week, you'll be getting ready to go up on that stage for the Nordic Darts Masters in Copenhagen. How excited are you for next weekend?
Oh, I'm so happy to be here. Can't wait. Of course, I don't have special goals for Nordic Darts Masters, but just I want to enjoy atmosphere and play my best game. And Nathan Aspinall will be my first round opponent, and it's not bad, because it's much better than play against Peter Wright or Gary Henderson. And I like to play against Nathan, and I know his performance on stage is much better than floor tournaments, but still think it's not the worst draw for me, and I believe I can beat him and play well in other games also. I can't wait.
Going to come on to the draw. When the draw came out, you put up on Twitter it could be a potential quarter-final with your friend Darius Labanauskas. He's got to get past Michael van Gerwen. How do you rate your chances of you two meeting in the next round?
Hopefully it will be, because I think the last time we played against each other just the last year in Pro Tour. Yeah, we didn't play this year, and I hope we will play.
And the two of you are both managed by Dean Moss, who we had on our show earlier this year. How much of a help has Dean been for you in your career so far?
Oh, he helped me a lot. Maybe not so much the last few years, but the first 2 years, it's not possible to play in the PDC without him, his help. And then he helped a lot for World Cup of Darts the last year, and just call Latvia for the last minute. And yeah, he helped me for this tournament. And of course, we have good contact. We are good friends. We have a contact, and if I need any help, he will help me, of course.
Good to hear. Well, let's rewind back. We last had you on our show in November last year, just after that World Cup. A month later, and you're making more history for Latvia, becoming the first Latvian to win a match at the PDC World Championship. What was that occasion like?
It was just a very important tournament for me. Nothing more. I focused for game by game. Yeah, it was good to win, of course, and play against Gary in the second round. New experience, and of course now I believe myself more than before, because it's very important to win, of course. Yeah.
You've played on two of the iconic World Championship stages, the Lakeside, Ally Pally, but last year's Ally Pally was behind closed doors. How strange was it playing the World Championship last year but with no fans there?
It was different, yeah, but I tried to focus to my game, to my performance. I felt support at home. I felt support from fans around the world. I felt it, and of course. But when you play, you don't think about it, and you just focus to your game, to your darts, and of course, sometimes atmosphere just you want to play more better and better if you have a great atmosphere behind you. But everybody played. There is the same rules for everybody, and actually, but I played before World Cup of Darts also, without fans, and not the first time.
Well, you mentioned the support that you had. What was the reaction like back home in Latvia after you won your first match, and then when you went up against Gary Anderson? Did the level of interest go up in your home country?
Oh, yes. A lot of media, TV and radio, and a lot. After Ally Pally, a lot of people asked me for interviews in Latvia, and before a game against Gary also, but of course I focused to my game and I didn't answer to everybody, but many people asked about darts in Latvia also.
And I mentioned that it was behind closed doors, the World Championship also going on during some tight restrictions around the world. How challenging was it to get home to Latvia after that match against Gary?
Oh, it was hard, yeah. And actually, I played the second round game before Christmas because for Christmas time I stay in England with my friends and then fly back home just after Christmas. Yeah, it was hard time, but the time it was like it was. I can change nothing, and anyway, it was a good time to meet my friends, and everything was okay. Just I was later at home.
Let's get on to this year. For a lot of players, this year has been very stop-start with long breaks between events on the PDC Tour, but it's started to pick up again in recent weeks. How would you assess your 2021 so far?
The main goal, of course, qualify for Ally Pally, but this year I started very well. After UK Open, I reached, I can't remember which round, last 32 maybe. Then I played good the next Pro Tour events, but from May or June I played very poor. No, I played well, but it was very, my wins, I won less games than I want, of course, to win. And the last time in Barnsley I didn't play it because I born my second son, and of course I was at home. And I'm still fighting for Ally Pally from Pro Tour, of course, but I think I have a good chance to qualify from Nordic Baltic Tour because I'm top in the table now.
Definitely, and congratulations on the new arrival as well. Going back to the start of the summer, you were well in the mix to qualify for the World Match Play. You were in and out of the spots during those few months. What's it like as a player being involved in a race like that for one of the big events and being in and out of the spots?
Oh yeah, I was so close for Match Play. Actually, the same like I was close for Grand Prix the last year. I don't know. I just played my game. I didn't think about match play or any other big tournament. Just played game by game, and I don't know. But of course, in Latvia, also many people asked me about Madars, good luck to qualify for match play. We want to see you on telly again. But I focus to my game and my tournaments and just play darts.
Definitely. Well, you touched on the Nordic and Baltic Tour. That was back up and running in Iceland recently, and a very successful weekend for you with the 2 titles, 2 semi-finals and a quarter-final. It's a big opportunity there to try and qualify for Ally Pally. So how much confidence did you take from that weekend?
I practiced a lot before Iceland because I understand if will be any mistake, still play bad in Pro Tour, then this is just my last chance to qualify for Ally Pally. And I practiced a lot, focused a lot for Iceland, and a little bit disappointed about one tournament when I missed deciding leg tops for win. I lost quarterfinal against Jukka Engström, Swedish guy. But other tournaments played well. I'm happy where I am because 5 tournaments in two and a half days. It's not easy to win every tournament. Two wins, semi-finals. Yeah, it's okay for me.
Definitely. Well, we've also seen the European Tour make its return last weekend at a first event in Hungary, which you were there for. What was it like being back in front of a crowd again for the first time in a while?
Oh, it was amazing. Yeah, I'm disappointed about my performance because I missed a lot of doubles. But it was so great to be back in European Tour stage and in Hungary, fans and no any COVID restrictions, and felt very, very good. Yeah, it was good. It was very, very good tournament.
So we've just had the first event in Hungary. We've got a first World Series event in Denmark next weekend. How close do you think we are to the PDC maybe putting an event on in Latvia or any of the other Nordic and Baltic countries?
Actually, it's not a question for me. I don't know. Maybe Nordic and Baltic events will be the next year, maybe after 2 years, because we have not the best situation in Latvia with COVID. But will be Nordic and Baltic Tour will be, but not other the PDC tournament.
Well, when we're talking, the PDC World Cup is currently going on, and many of our listeners, they expected to see you involved again representing Latvia, especially after the PDC Nordic and Baltic Twitter posted that you guys were in. Can you talk us through the mix-up, what happened from your perspective?
I need to say again, it's not a question for me because I was ready to go to Germany at any time, and if I need to play for free without any money prize or something like that. But at the same time, I understand the World Cup of darts is far from sport, and that's the business, and 4 teams from Nordic Baltic region, it's enough, you know. And this is World Cup of darts, not European Championship or something like that. And 4 teams that's maximum, I think, from Nordic and Baltic region. And then of course, I saw information about Latvia is the first reserve, and then Croatia, Israel, I think, because Boris can't go, and it was my hope to go, but I don't know what's happened with Nauris, but his plans changed, and Yanis also, he don't have 2 vaccines, he can't fly from UK also. Just, I don't know why, don't ask me about another Latvians, because, Nauris number 2 in Latvia, but Yanis, he's not number 3 or he's not number 6, he's maybe top 8 player in Latvia. And the last year we played, until last year, just I played in the PDC system. After the World Cup of Darts, 3 more Latvians played in Q School, and I'm sure if any other players go to play in the World Cup, then the next year should be 2-3 more Latvians. But at the moment, I don't know.
Well, let's hope so, because I remember your tweet that you put up recently as well, that Latvia is the only country in the Nordic and Baltic region to have a tour card holder, players that have played in this year's Q School, Challenge Tour, Development Tour, Nordic and Baltic Tour. So fingers crossed that will happen. But I know you'll be supporting Darius and Team Lithuania this weekend. They got a win last night. Did you watch much of last night, or are you planning to watch much of it this weekend?
Yes, of course. I saw all games. Few games I saw, just replied this morning, but anyway, I saw all games, and but I told you this is big business, and in Denmark, Finland, Sweden can make its biggest market, and then Darius, he have a tour card, and he's very good on Pro Tour. Lithuania need to play, just we'll see what happens next year, but. I feel, of course, I'll be disappointed, but maybe it's better to stay at home with my family and getting to be ready for Denmark.
back to your own career and lots going on for yourself. Last year you moved into the top 64. You're heading towards the top 50. A big few months coming up with spots up for grabs, as we mentioned, the World Championship, the Players' Championship finals, the Grand Slam qualifiers, lots still to come. Aside from the World Championship, what goals are you really looking to try and achieve these last few months?
The first goal, I want to go to top 50, of course. I played very well the last year, and I'm a little bit disappointed again, I need to say, about this season. But I'm still in the race. I'm still ready to fight for highest place in rankings, and I don't need extra motivation to be highest in ranking. I just need to go and win, and I'm still young and still learn and still looking for new experience, and I will be top 50, believe me.
And before we let you go, we should let you plug the charity competitions that you've started to run, raising money for children in Latvia. Talk to us about that and how people can donate.
Yes, actually, it's my and my friend charity tournament in darts, but this year we don't have a lot of teams, but it's team competition, and we don't have a lot of teams, and we think maybe we can sell for charity 3 world champion equipment. And they asked for Peter Wright, darts, no problem. Then the next will be end of September, Scott Mitchell shirt signature, and then one more world champion. But at the moment, I can't say which one. And the first Peter Wright money will go to help for children. Scott Mitchell money will go to help dogs, animals. I don't know how to say correct in English, but But anyway, it's good to see Latvians also, and not only English or Germans, but also Latvians looking for world best player equipment, and it's good to see.
Great stuff. Well, keep up the good work on that, and enjoy your weekend at home with the family, and we wish you all the best for the Nordic Masters next week, and of course for the rest of the year.
Thank you very much.
Thanks again to Madars for joining us. Now we're going to get into our 2 questions of the week, and they are both relating to the PDC World Cup of Darts. The first one is, who is your 2021 World Cup MVP? Who are you going for?
Oh, what a pickle. I mean, the obvious answers we've talked about already. MVP, definitely Hendo, obviously. But in terms of broadening the chat, as it were, about what's going on, there's so many good matches. I was impressed, I have to say, maybe not MVP level, but impressed for sure with Team USA. And I'm not usually the big USA type person that Burton comes up as. But I mean, if you think about, obviously they lost Australia, and we were rooting for Australia as well. And I loved seeing how they were playing. I mean, Australia was just absolutely turning up with their things. It just breaks my brain to see the US, not winning one match. They can win a match. I'm not writing them off, especially considering Sweden can be hit or miss. But to see such a big gap in the averages, and when we look at the tournament averages for the first round, there's so few teams that cracked that 90 as a joint team. And one of those teams was the US, who were almost on a 92 average. And then when you consider their match versus Australia, it fell a little bit. But, I mean, Danny Lobby still was getting a 91, almost 92 average. I mean, it's a higher average than Damon had, and averages aren't everything. But in terms of still not having as much of a presence with darts, which I know they're working on, getting more events and making it more well known, but I still have friends back home who only know that darts is a thing that is played professionally because they stumbled across it on BBC America once. And these are people that are sports fans. So for a game that is working on getting a stronghold, and it has such a big area to cover, to build a fandom and to involve players and to get them to a point where enough people know that there's games and learn and devote time to crafting their ability to play. It's a big challenge. And to see them win a match and to see them, put up a fight where Danny Lobby, went down 3-4 to Simon Whitlock. And everybody knows Simon Whitlock and speaks of Simon Whitlock. It's just a testament for where that scene is heading. And especially, bless his socks, Danny Lobby Jr.'s heading, because obviously we know that he's signed with who is a Target that he's signed with. He's been going to Q school, and it's just good signs for him all around. Good signs for it. And because Burton's sick, we'll just go with Team USA put in a stronger performance than I think people are going to give them credit for. So USA.
Yeah, I think that's fair, and it is difficult to look beyond the two teams that made the final, isn't it? One player that I will give a mention to, and we spoke about him off air before we started recording, and it is hard to give him an MVP from a player that played 7 legs and 1 game across the whole tournament, but Adam Gavlas with the 122 average, that's not a typo, I haven't misspoke there, 122 average he had in his doubles game for the Czech Republic. They lost 5-2 to Poland, and Krzysztof Ratajski had a 119 average in that game. What do the Czech Republic have to do to win a game in this tournament? They've still yet to win one, but they're putting in performances like that. I don't think it's going to be too long before they do get over the line for the first time, make it to the second round, make it to the Saturday. But aside from that, really, I do have to look at the players that made the final, and they're the 4 options that we've put on our poll on Twitter, which is going to run throughout the week. So if you guys want to get involved in that, let us know who you think is your MVP. But 68% John Henderson at the moment, 16% Roby John Rodriguez, 9% Mensah Suljovic, 7% going with Peter Wright, who a couple of years ago I think he did go unbeaten in the World Cup on the way to winning it with Gary Anderson, and this past weekend he went 8 wins, 1 defeat, and the only defeat he had was to Johnny Clayton, the Premier League and the Masters champion, so not a bad record for him. John Henderson, 6-2, pretty good weekend for him, pretty good few days for him, winning 6 games, only losing 2, and one of the defeats was to Michael van Gerwen, the world number 3, one of the top players in the world. I'll give a mention to Roby John Rodriguez though. Before the final, he was 5-0 for the weekend across the first round, second round, quarterfinals, semi-finals, yet to lose a game, and unfortunately for him, he lost a couple of games in the final, and that proved costly for them in the end. But yeah, I think I'm going to go with John Henderson for my MVP. His first PDC title of any sorts, his first TV final. We've not seen too much of him on TV over the last few years, but he really did turn up at the weekend and put in some big performances, big shots at the right time. And like we said at the start of the show, it could be something that turns into something really special for him and could maybe make a push back towards the top 32 and even higher. Who knows?
And then the other question of the week is the one that everybody asks in the lead up to the World Cup and asks for about 2 weeks after. Is it time that the World Cup becomes a pairs-only event?
Yeah, we had to get this question in there because, as you say, every year when this event comes around, the talk is dominated by whether the event should change, whether it should be more teams, less teams, group stage. But I think the one that everyone talks about is the format. Should it be doubles only? Should we get rid of the singles? It is a tricky one. Looking at the poll at the minute, a lot of our listeners are going with yes. I think 80% to 20% yes, no is where the poll is at the moment. For me, I was quite adamant before this year that I'd love to see it become a pairs-only tournament. I guess really last year we were deprived of a lot of doubles games. There was a lot of 2-0s, but I don't know if there was more this year than last year. It certainly felt like that, and the drama that we had was a lot more this year as well across the whole tournament. Even the second round, some of the games where you're thinking, yeah, that's probably going to be a 2-0 looking at the lineups for the two teams, but you had Wales only just scraping through against Lithuania in that second round game. Germany as well having to come through a decider. And then the quarterfinals, we had a couple of really tight games, the Austria, Northern Ireland, and then Netherlands-Scotland game going to a doubles decider. And then in the semi-finals as well, the Wales-Scotland game going 3 games as well. So it felt for me like there was a lot more doubles this year than last year. Are the PDC going to go down the route of changing it to doubles only, making it a 1-game best of 17, best of 19, best of 21? I don't think they will, but is there going to be a compromise? Maybe there will be a way where they could get more guaranteed doubles games into the tournament after the first round. That could be the way they go. But I think just having the one game, you are then susceptible to having a 9-0, a 9-1, and maybe some more one-sided games than we could potentially get with this short races first to four. It's a difficult one. I don't envy the PDC on this one, but I think the more people moan about it, the more people are talking about it. Even the Sky broadcast were talking about it as well. I think we might see something change, but as far as all doubles, I don't think we're there just yet.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, and we will come on to doubles a bit later as well, as somebody sent in a question. But for me, I do like the doubles format, but I do like the concept of tactical arrangements with the pairings and who's going to face off against who, because I kind of love when you see what tactic they were going for and when it doesn't turn out the way they expected. It's just kind of fun for me. You know, you would expect when you have a team that's made up of ranked players that people who have higher rankings would have an easier time performing. And if the other team features players of higher rankings as well, then maybe the lowest ranked player would struggle. So you end up with these situations and scenarios where it's usually, can we arrange something where the weaker player plays the stronger player so that we can guarantee we get on the board at one point and we bring it into the doubles, and then maybe the stronger player will carry them. But moments like, you know, Gerwyn being knocked out by John Henderson, James Wade being knocked out by Roby John. A few years ago, they made Martin Schindler play against MVG at his best because the assumption was Max Hopp would churn and burn on, I think it was Jermaine at the time. And Max Hopp very nearly beat MVG. He was playing astounding darts at the time. And I think that as much as I love the doubles and as much as I wish there was a wider format or a longer format of the doubles, or a case to cycle back to it where you start with the doubles and then you go into individual sets, I don't know how you'd work it. I like that attempt at seeing where the tactics lie, what people think they know of one another, what they think they can achieve, and then just those beautiful moments where the person that you've not bet on, that underdog, which is not I'm not saying Roby John and John Henderson can't play. Obviously, we can see they play. But where everybody thinks, especially the people that don't follow darts very closely, I've never heard of this person, or I've only heard of this person once, they're going to be wiping the floor with them, and they just knock off the other person with just such deft style. I can't give it up. I don't want to give it up. My only sadness is that we didn't see Hendo play Roby. I don't even care if one of the one whitewashed the other. I wanted to see it so bad. So no, I don't want it to be doubles only. Like I said, we'll come back to more about doubles, but just for this one, I can't say more because this is just the answer for this one. We'll come back to it again at the end. But no, I don't think it's time for it to become a pairs-only event. Sorry.
And now we'll move on to our next guest on this week's show, a player that was in the World Cup last week. Here's our chat with Sweden's number one, Daniel Larsson.
I'm pleased to say I'm joined by Sweden's number one, Daniel Larsson. Thanks very much for the time, Daniel. How are you doing?
Well, thanks for having me. I'm doing pretty good.
Firstly, we're talking on the week of the PDC's first World Series event in Scandinavia. How excited are you to be playing in the first ever Nordic Darts Masters this weekend?
Oh, it's going to be fantastic. And I hope we have a big crowd as well. I think there were about 2,500 last time it wasn't in Denmark. So I think it will be pretty good.
Yeah, we were chatting with Matt Porter, the PDC chief exec. He's hoping for a crowd of around 3,000 or so in Denmark this weekend. As a Scandinavian player yourself, how proud a moment will it be to see a World Series event in your region and with a big crowd?
Oh, it's fantastic, and it's exactly what we need. We need to get our sport out in media more and to be seen on TV, because it's really hard to reach out for darts in Scandinavia, I think. Denmark is a little... They've shown darts a lot more than, for example, Sweden, Finland and Norway. So I think it's good to start there, but hopefully that will help. This will help also Sweden and Finland to be seen on TV more.
Fingers crossed for that. Well, the draw is out for this weekend, and you're going to be up against a certain Gerwyn Price, the world number one, the reigning world champion. What was your reaction when you saw the draw?
It's a real good challenge, I think. But it would be a hard draw, whoever you draw against these guys, and it's going to be really tough, but it's exciting. And if I can play my best game, I could have a chance. But if he plays his best game, it will be really tough, of course. But I feel like I'm in a pretty good form at the moment. I didn't show that in the World Cup last weekend, but I'm feeling pretty well. So hopefully I can do some damage.
We shall see. Well, let's rewind back. You turned 40 a few months ago, but you've been playing darts, I believe, since you were a teenager. How did you get into darts?
I started when I was 10 or 11, I think. It was 91. I come from a very small village where it's you don't have many options or what you can do. We didn't have any ice hockey practice, or if you're going to play football, you have to drive to every practice, like 30 kilometers. You did what was possible. And actually, darts wasn't the purpose of where we started to play. It was actually meant to become a karate club. But when it was supposed to start, this trainer didn't show up, so nothing happened. They redecorated this house for karate, and we were a lot of youngsters who was a bit disappointed because we wanted to kick on each other and stuff like that. So then he was a chef in the local inn. He asked if he could just borrow the place and put up some dartboards so we could throw some darts until they figure out to do something with the place. But it stayed as a dart club, and for me it was really fun because as a 10, 11-year-old boy, you could not play with the older ones. They didn't want to. Yeah, it's like that. You don't want to play with the younger boys. But when we went to the dart club, you could hang around with them, who was up to like 25, 30 years. So we were like, they started with 3 boards, and it was so crowded after just a couple of weeks, so they put up 8 more boards. So we had 11 boards, and the whole village were throwing darts for like 3 years or something like that.
What a story that is. I mean, when you think back, that's what, now 30 years ago, and you've played on the biggest stages there are in darts, and it was by chance that you got to play darts. Do you ever think back to that time and think it could have been so different?
Yeah, I could have been Bruce Lee instead. No, I'm really happy that happened. It's maybe it was some kind of purpose. I don't know, but it's a bit funny how it became. And I actually fell in love with darts from the beginning. It was very fun, even if I wasn't that good from start. So, but I liked the sport, so I kept practicing, and eventually I started winning games and winning tournaments. So then it became more fun every year.
I want to fast forward to the end of 2008, and you've just beaten Stephen Bunting in the last round of the BDO World Championship qualifiers to secure a Lakeside debut. What do you remember about that day in the qualifiers?
I remember I played really, really well that day. and I had almost like well-known players each round. It was really tough, and it was like I won in the last leg every match, except against Steven. I won pretty big against him, but it was many years ago. But I remember the happiness afterwards.
And what about the experience of playing at Lakeside for the first time? We go to the start of 2009 against one of the Lakeside favourites in Tony O'Shea.
That was a really, really good experience. I was really nervous. Tony was a really nice guy. He is a really nice guy. But he was, before the game, I think he saw that I was a bit nervous. He tried to calm me down, and he was really friendly to be an opponent.
And in more recent times, we've seen you start to play in the PDC. We've seen the PDC's Nordic and Baltic Tour start to pick up. You've won a few titles on there. You've come through a few of the qualifiers for the Euro Tour. How much has playing in the PDC or in that side of things helped your game?
It has raised my game a lot, I think. Like being in the PDC, you can see how good the top players are, but you also see how good like the lower ranked players are. It's really, really tough in PDC now, and players are so focused and serious, I would say. So you learn a lot just to look and to play against the other guys.
And in 2018, you finished in the top two of the Nordic and Baltic Tour to secure a debut at another World Championship, this time in the PDC at Ally Pally, and you beat a former major winner, Robert Thornton, on your debut. How special was that moment?
That's one of my best moments so far in the career. A fantastic win. It was fantastic to play at Ally Pally. The atmosphere was crazy. And to beat such a good player, it was. I think that was good for my confidence and a really good boost. That feeling makes me want to come back there every year.
Definitely, yeah. Moving on to 2020, last year you go into Q School for the first time, and talk us through those 4 days coming out with a tour card at the other end.
Yeah. Well, what can I say about that? I wasn't. I got the feeling that I could get a card. I wasn't really nervous about it. I just had a feeling I can make it. And I shared room with Jeffrey de Graaf and Johan Engström, my two teammates here in Sweden. And they were so eager to get it. But I felt so calm about it. And I said, take it easy. If you play good, you get it. And I have the feeling I will get it. And I knew that I had a good chance on the last day. But still, I was so... I was so focused on getting it. So I didn't even, get nervous or like that. I knew I could make it.
And obviously when you won your tour card back then, no one knew what was to follow with the pandemic not long after that. How hard was that period for you, especially being one of the players who we didn't see come back onto the tour until September?
I think I played the first 2 months, almost every tournament. Then it got harder to travel. I also hurt my elbow in May, I think. So I could play, but I could not, pressure out the arm fully. And I had problems with it until September, October, something like that. And so that's why I had to cancel a few tournaments, and it was really hard to travel from Sweden, as Sweden was. We didn't put in restrictions for COVID so early, and we got considered as a red country pretty quick. So the traveling was so hard.
And how is the elbow now? Are you back to full fitness now?
Yeah, it's good now. It's I got rid of it in September, October. Since then, it has not been a problem. Yeah, but I even made my a 9-darter at home tour with a sore elbow. So, that's pretty strange, I think.
Very nice. Well, let's get on to last week. We saw you in the PDC World Cup representing Sweden again, and for the first time in that event partnering up with a man that you mentioned, Johan Engström. But you two have had quite a partnership before, haven't you? Talk us about, was it the WDF World Cup pairs you made a final?
Yeah, 2009, I think, on Ireland. I think we lost the final against Scott Waits and Martin Adams and Tony O'Shea with 6-4, I think. Now me and Johan has played together for many years. I think we have like 7 or 9 gold medals in the Swedish Championships in pairs, and we have played a lot together. So and we both are in good form now. So we expected a lot more from last weekend in the World Cup. We didn't play near the standard that we normally do, but we had a few chances. We missed doubles in the 3 of the legs USA took, but the USA guys played pretty good, especially Daniel Larsson. So it was they were the right winners in that game. They were.
And we're coming into a busy end to the year. We've got Pro Tours coming up. We've got the Grand Slam qualifiers, the World Championship, Players Championship final spots all on the line, and you talk hard as well. Will you be able to commit to as many events as you want to in order to try and save your talk hard? How is the rest of the year looking like for you?
It depends on what happens with the Nordic Tour. They talk about that there will be a weekend for us in October, but it's not confirmed yet. And it depends on which dates that will have, if I can go to all of the Pro Tours. But at the moment, the plan is to play all of them. But if they put in Nordic tournaments, I need to consider what I have to do. It will be hard to receive a tour card for me from where I'm at the rankings now. So I need to have that in mind. And to get to the World Championships, it looks like I need to go there either from the qualifier or from the Nordic Tour.
And lastly, we'll finish on darts in Sweden. What is the darts scene like right now, and what do you see as the next step in the development to keep it growing or get it bigger?
At the moment, we don't have any tournaments. The league games, they start I think next week in most places in Sweden. But they have cancelled the planned tournaments for September, and hopefully we get some tournaments in November, December, maybe. But they will try to stream a lot of tournaments, and then it's not possible for me to play them as long as I have a tour card. But I'm not sure at the moment what's the plan is. The federation talks about they want darts to grow, and they want to focus on youth players. But at the moment we don't have so many youth players, so I think they need to rethink that and try to put in more tournaments for older and put the focus there to get darts into media. I think that would be the best, and maybe then the youth players will come.
Fingers crossed for that, Daniel. It's a pleasure to chat to you. Really appreciate your time and wish you all the best for this weekend in Denmark for the World Series and for the rest of the year.
Thank you very much. Nice to be in your pod.
Thanks again to Daniel for joining us now into the World Series, which makes its return in 2021 this weekend in Denmark with the Nordic Darts Masters. The only stop on the World Series this year before we go into the finals. Why should darts fans tune in this weekend?
If you're a darts fan, why are we giving you a reason to tune in? Just tune in. You're a darts fan. What are you doing? It's a weekend. You're going to just sit in front of the TV or something anyway. Watch the darts. Just do it. But in terms of what is there to look forward to, if we were to phrase it that way instead, I'm very excited for this. Obviously, there are some people who get to keep their spots because COVID derailed things or get moved into spots that we haven't seen on the PDC for a while. But does that mean that they haven't been doing anything? It sure doesn't. And obviously, I'm speaking here about both Marco Cantila, who has since lost his tour card, is going to play, and we've got Fallon Sherrick. Fallon's been playing in the online darts leagues, and she's been looking pretty good at it. So I think it's fantastic that they're including her and bringing her along. People love to see her play. They love to have the dialogue about women's sports and see her skills, and her averages, have been fantastic in terms of the online darts league. From what I can see, they play it during work, so it's very difficult. So I think it's a lot to look forward to, even if people were to say, write everybody off and just assume that it'll be a walk in the park for the Big Eight. I still think it's going to be a ton of fun. It's a darts event. It's exciting for the people of Denmark. It's just going to be a ton of fun. And I do think Fallon's going to make some roads. I would love to see her make some big strides. She may even, I love Dimitri, so I say this with no malice at all, she might even be outplaying Dimitri based on a little bit of that World Cup. He has the power, she has the power. It could be fantastic to see her play. We've got Darius. Always love seeing Darius Labanauskas play. So if you love the darts, you're going to want to be there. If you have things to look forward to, let's see where Fallon can go. Let's see where Nathan Aspinall can go now that he's not doing his stars in his eyes thing that I saw he was doing on Twitter. Let's see what Peter Wright can follow up from the World Cup with. Let's see if Michael Van Gerwen can, kick back on. There's so many things to see. It's just exciting times. What a shame that we can't have more World Series. Alas, the nature of COVID. But thank goodness we have one. It should be a lot of fun.
A lot better than last year, isn't it? We only had the World Series finals. This year we're getting, I guess you could say, a little bit of a taste of what the World Series is all about, getting us a refresher, if you like. But next year, we spoke with Matt Porter last week. He's hoping that the World Series will be back to full fitness, full health next year, with the three in Australia, New Zealand, the long-awaited one in New York as well, and any of the other ones that get added to it as well. But yeah, this is probably going to be a little bit of a taster of what's to come next year, and this is a first for the PDC, a first World Series event in Scandinavia. It is one of those events that was postponed last year. It was due to take place last year, but because of the pandemic, it got cancelled. But good to see that it's still on the calendar for this year. They are able to get the event on, and I believe they're going to have around 3,000 fans in the Forum Copenhagen this weekend for the event, which is going to be good to see a good crowd in there. And it is going to be blink and you miss it, because we've got the Friday evening session, the first round, and then it finishes up on the Saturday. We've got the Saturday afternoon, the quarterfinals, and then Saturday evening it rounds up with the semi-finals and the finals. So it is going to be here and then gone very, very quickly. But looking at the draw and how things could potentially play out, we could have a Gerwyn Price, Fallon Sherrick game in the quarterfinals Saturday afternoon if those two get through their first round games. Who doesn't want to see the world number one, world champion, go up against arguably the most popular, well-known player there is in darts at the moment? I think that would be a fascinating game to watch. And we could see some other interesting ties as well. Peter Wright, Johnny Clayton in the quarterfinals. Those two always seem to have good competitive games as well. But yeah, one of the big subplots has got to be Michael Van Gerwen still chasing that first title of the year. Could he get it done and out the way over the 2 days that this event runs through? Maybe, but if he is, he may have to do it the hard way in that final session. He may have to play the two players above him in the rankings. He may have to play Peter Wright in the semi-finals and then Gerwyn Price in the final. And what a way to end a drought that's coming up to a year without a title, by beating the two players higher ranked than him in the order of merit. That could be something that happens. We don't know. That's why we play these games, to see how it plays out. But yeah, I think there's a few things that are going to be interesting to see how it plays out this weekend.
Now, Dita Hedman secured an automatic spot at the 2022 WDF World Championship after she won the England Open this weekend. Could 2022 be the year that she breaks her Lakeside curse?
Yeah, it could be, and I'm gonna save the amount of titles that she's now won in her career for you when you get to answer this bit. But it's a lot, isn't it? It's over 200, and it was a big win for her because, as you say, this is one of the gold-ranked events in the WDF. The new system that they're employing for the Lakeside is that they have these gold-ranked events, and if you win one, that is automatic qualification for the Lakeside. Dita probably didn't have to worry about that too much because she is number one in the women's rankings and by quite a bit as well. But to get it done like that, she'll be pleased, and another title as well, and beat some top players along the way. She beat Anastasia Dobromislova in the final 6-2. She beat Fallon Sherrick in the semi-final as well. So she's picked up a few scalps there, and it is another world championship for her. And it's great to see her appetite for the game. It's still very strong. She's 61 now, but she's still qualifying for world championships. You could say that she's already got a world championship under her belt, the World Masters 1994, unofficial world championship, not in name, but there wasn't a women's world championship back then. But she'd love to win a Lakeside, and we spoke about John Henderson earlier being a popular winner. As far as the ladies' game, I think you'd say that if Dita Hedman were to go all the way and win Lakeside, win a women's world championship for the first time, I don't think there'd be too many more popular winners than her. And she's playing some good stuff. It's got to be said, the last 12 months, it's been events few and far between for the ladies' game, but she did come through that PDC Women's Series last year, nipped Fallon Sherrick to get that last spot in the World Championship at Ally Pally, and she's winning titles again, and winning titles, it breeds confidence. So yeah, for me, I think she'll be going into next year, going to Lakeside, maybe as the number one seed, who knows, but she's in a good spot maybe to be the number one seed, playing some good darts, and under a new system, the WDF rather than the BDO, that could maybe be a good omen for her to get over the line.
Yeah, I think it's super exciting. I mean, her management has said, and thank you for letting me share, considering I said I had the tweet up, that she's had 216 career ranking titles. And that's just bananas when you consider any career in sport and how exponentially things seem to kind of fall off. I think as time goes on, she's got even more freedom as arrangements go on. She's obviously more senior at her work. She's got a little more space there. She's got the freedom to do, whatever she wants with this. And there's a bit there, but I think there's also something to be said about what pressures people put on themselves and what freedom they allow themselves to play. And so I think she can be unencumbered. I think she could go all the way. Like you mentioned with the women's series last year, she was playing fantastically. She was absolutely dominating. So if she brings that along, the sky's the limit. If she brings back what she was playing at the O2 Arena, the sky will not be the limit. It's kind of hit or miss, and I don't know how much of that comes down to the pressure or the notion of it not being one that you've had, or just the strength of the other candidates, because there's a lot of people that are fantastic in women's darts, but she's got staying power. And one of the things I feel almost confident in is if it's not her year, she's going to keep trying for another year to see if it's her year. And do I think she could have it be her year? She really is playing phenomenally. Just the last 12 months have been really good for Dita Hedman. It's just been so sad that there hasn't been more events for her to roll that out. So sincerely, as much as I love everybody who will be playing in that event, inevitably, I do hold a special place in my heart for if she were to get there. You're right, she would be one of those people that everybody just would be over the moon for. We'd all take a lap around the block freaking out if she got it. So fingers crossed it is her year that she breaks her curse. If it's not to be, let's say the next year. Let's just say it'll be forever the year until the moment that she decides that she doesn't want to play anymore. And long may the Hedman reign continue.
Here. Well, now let's move on to our final guest on this week's show, continuing our PDC Nordic and Baltic special. Here's our chat with Denmark's Andreas Toft Jørgensen.
I'm pleased to say I'm joined by Denmark's newest PDC World Cup player, Andreas Toft Jørgensen. Thanks for the time. How are you doing?
I'm fine. Thanks.
Well, let's start with last week. You made your TV debut in the PDC World Cup, representing Denmark and going up against the Netherlands. How did you find the experience?
It was great. It was a lot of nerves, but it was great.
What was the build-up like heading to Germany to play the World Cup? How were you feeling ahead of getting up on the stage?
Just before the stage, I was ready. I felt like I was ready, but all the way down there, I was quite nervous.
And you had Niels Henderson alongside you, who's played for Denmark the 2 years before that. Did he help with any advice on how to approach it playing on the stage?
Yes, he did. He was just asking me to be myself and forget the cameras and just relax and enjoy the moment.
And we've got to ask about the chewing gum as well. We've seen a few players in the past chew gum while playing. Is it something that you've always done? How did it start?
To be honest, it was just I was nervous and I forgot I had it. I always use gum while I practice, so it was natural for me to find a piece of gum during warm-up. But I'm not used to using it while I'm playing. But everything got a bit blurry when we got called up, so I just forgot it.
Well, you don't have to wait long before you're back on the big stage and in front of the cameras again this Friday. The Nordic Darts Masters in your home country, Denmark. How excited are you for this weekend?
Pretty excited. I'm looking forward to it. Practicing a lot and can't get my mind on anything else than that.
So what is the buzz like in Denmark right now for this event? As someone who is from there, we understand there's going to be around 3,000 in the venue for it. How much attention is the event getting from your fellow Danes?
We've been talking a lot about it. I went to a Danish competition just after the World Cup, and there was a lot of talk about it. So people are excited and looking forward to it. And
yourself, are you going to have many friends, family? Have they got tickets for the event on Friday?
Yeah, I have some friends who are coming. My family is staying home to watch it on the telly instead.
Well, we should mention the draw as well, from one former world champion in Michael van Gerwen last week to another this Friday. You're going up against Gary Anderson. How did you feel about the draw?
I'm pretty excited. I was hoping to get Peter Wright. He's the one I'm following when I watch the darts. So that would have been some experience to meet him. But I'm happy about it. There's no bad players there, so it doesn't matter which one I have to play. It's players we don't have the chance to meet every day, so everything is a new experience.
Hopefully you should get a chance to meet him this Friday when you guys are both in the same session. What is it about Peter that you like so much? Was it the outfits, the hair?
He was the one player who drew attention to me. Maybe it was the hair, maybe it was all the colors. And now that I met him down in Jena at the World Cup, I just found out that he's a really good guy. So.
Well, let's circle back then. How long have you been playing darts for now, and how did you get introduced to darts?
I got introduced through a friend of mine I used to work with. She asked me if I wanted to come to a puck game. I said yes. I went there to just drink a beer and watch the games, and then they invited me on their team, and then I just started playing, and then it was just playing every day. I've been playing for about 4 or 5 years.
What's it been like then, growing up and coming through the ranks in Denmark as a darts player these last 4 or 5 years? What highlights have stuck with you during that time?
The thing I remember the best was the first time I beat Per Larsson. I was so excited that I lost the next game to another guy who wasn't one of the best players in Denmark. But I was so ecstatic to just have beat Per that I couldn't even hit the board. That's the memory I have. That's the biggest memory I have of Danish darts. But people here are friendly and they want to help you. So it's just meeting up with different guys in different clubs and just play darts.
Has he been a big inspiration for you in your darts, seeing what he's been able to do?
Yeah, Per. He's some sort of idol, if you can call that. He's one of those players you look up to.
And we recently saw you on the PDC's Nordic and Baltic Tour in Iceland, a title, a semi-final, a quarter-final. You were the top finisher from the Denmark players. What was that weekend like for you? Did you take a lot of confidence from it?
Yeah, I did, a lot. I was a bit disappointed to lose in my first game 2 times. That's not nice, but gained a lot of confidence and got some good advice as well from both Madars and Darius.
And what was the advice that they've given you?
To say it short, I just have to keep focusing and doing what I do.
And this year we've also seen you at Q School and on the Challenge Tour as well. How have you found those experiences?
They're a bit different to the Danish league system. They're a lot more competitive. There are only hard games down there. It's great. There's a lot of structure, and I like the format that we're just playing knockout rounds.
Still very early on in your career. You've only been playing for 4 or 5 years, as you said. But is that the goal for you then, to get a tour card at Q School, get on the PDC Tour?
Yeah, it is. Of course it is. It doesn't. It's not the money that draws me. It's the game. I just love to play darts. So my dream is just to play darts every day.
And what would it mean to you to fly the flag for Denmark as a tour card holder and test yourself against the best week in, week out?
That will be amazing. And to make history in Denmark will be even greater.
Well, looking ahead then, how about the rest of this year after the World Series this weekend? What have you got your eye on for the rest of 2021?
I'm going to play in the Danish Open and Masters the first weekend in October. And then I hope for another PDC Nordic event. And if there comes one of those, I'll go to it, no matter where it is.
Yeah, we were just chatting with Daniel Larsson on the show, and he said he's hoping that there's going to be another weekend, and given how well you performed on the first weekend, you've got to be hoping there's a second one to maybe finish top and, who knows, get that spot at Ally Pally.
Yeah, that will be amazing. That's one of the dreams. You know, a lot of darts players watch the World Cup. Of course, you want to be there.
And we should mention as well the Denmark Open, one of your home events, that's got a lot riding on it as well, as far as the WDF potential to get to Lakeside as well. What would that mean to you?
I haven't even considered qualifying for the Lakeside. There was this from the last time they held it, with the prize monies and stuff. So I didn't even know it was still on.
Under this new organisation, obviously that was the BDO. Now it's going to be the WDF. A new guy's taken over. Is that something that you may potentially look at?
Yeah, of course. I just want to play, as I said early on. It doesn't matter if it's WVDF or the PDC. I know the money is in the PDC, so that's the main goal. But I just want to play darts.
Well, you're going to get a chance to play this Friday. We're looking forward to seeing you back on the stage again, Andreas. Thanks very much for your time, and wish you all the best for this weekend, and of course for the rest of the year as well.
Thanks.
Thanks again to Andreas for joining us. Now we'll finish up the show with some listener questions. Thanks to everyone who got involved and tweeted us some questions. The first one comes in from Sean Rafferty, who says, ahead of next year's World Cup, do you think Hendo should be given the opportunity to defend the World Cup with right? I'd say, given the fact Anderson has opted to play in the Nordic Masters but not travel to Jena the week before, means he should give the Highlander a chance to retain. What do you reckon?
Yes. And with his, what's the best way to put it without inducing people to rage? With his preference to not travel to Europe most times that they ask him to travel to Europe, I would like it very much if Gary Anderson would stop pretending like he's going to go to Europe. I mean, yes, he's going for this World Series one, but he doesn't go for the Euro Tour unless his ranking starts slipping and he needs the cash funds to try to back it up. He prefers not to go. And I mean, if that's his preference, that's his preference. But let's not pretend for a second that he's interested in going, because he seems like he's not. And I think that Hendo has made such a big mark with this. Obviously, he and Robert Thornton were the team the year before and struggled a bit, as you might expect them to, given the rankings and given how people were playing. But he's turned up as Hendo. He's turned up in a big way, and I think he really should, regardless of the ranking, be given the chance to defend. It's the trophy that he won with Peter. I don't see a world in which Peter wouldn't qualify for it. So to have somebody come in and defend a trophy that they didn't earn, that they weren't interested in traveling for, just I think would leave a bad taste in the mouth. We'll see how Gary's feeling, but It's just one of those things that if you think the World Cup is going to be in Europe, I feel like he's not going to want to go because he just doesn't like it. And that's all I'll say because I know Scotland has big feelings about it. But if it's a personal preference, just don't pretend that you're interested. Just take your name out of the hat. If it's a matter of disagreements or teammates or whatever, just step aside and let it be Hendo's. That would be just the best for everything. And obviously for Scottish pride, having a large Highlander in there is beautiful, and seeing him achieve it is beautiful. Gary and Peter are both Scottish through and through, but they don't live there to be able to go up during COVID times and have the parade that they would have for like Hendo. So Team Hendo forever, especially after this past weekend in terms of what he can achieve. It would be heartbreaking if he didn't get a chance.
I've got to agree with you as well. And okay, it's still very early days. We're talking when we're recording this less than 24 hours since Scotland won the World Cup. So it's very early days as far as what's going to happen next year. Is the World Cup going to be in September next year? Is it going to go back to June? Is it going to go back to November, what it was a couple of years ago? Where's it going to be held? These are all questions to be answered, and there are a lot of darts to be played between now and then and whenever the cut-off is for the World Cup. But we know that the World Cup is an unranked event. The general rule of thumb is that the top two ranked players get the opportunity to represent their country, but that's not always been the case. We've seen in the past players have stepped aside. They've decided not to enter the event for whatever reason. They didn't want to play with a certain player. We've seen it in other teams before. But as far as this Scottish team, I mean, it'd be great to see Peter Wright and Gary Anderson go with each other again. It'd be great to see Peter Wright and John Henderson have the chance to defend it. And how about John Henderson and Gary Anderson? I think we've pretty much seen all the different pairings we can have between Peter Wright, Gary Anderson, John Henderson, Robert Thornton, apart from John Henderson and Gary Anderson. So maybe complete the set, put them two together for it. But yeah, still very early days, and who knows if Peter Wright is still the Scottish number one when the event comes around again. If Gary Anderson's still the number two and John Henderson is still the number three, will Gary Anderson step aside? We don't know the answer to that yet. I probably think he would, because he'd want to see John Henderson have that chance to defend the title because he is such a popular player on the circuit. But still very early days, and let's enjoy this title that John Henderson has picked up for now.
And our next question comes from Alan Suter, who says, do you think it should be extended to 7 players in each team? This way the 7th highest ranked Scot could join the party.
Yeah, I think we could. It'd be great to see. I mean, you look at the level of talent that we've got in Scotland at the minute and players that aren't even on the tour. There's a lot there, isn't there? And we've got to give a mention as well to one of Alan Suter's good friends, practice partners, Sean McDonald. I'm sure he'd love to have a go in the Scotland team as well when he gets his tour card. So there is a lot of good players around that area representing Scotland. Alan Suter is definitely one of them. And we saw on the European Tour a couple of weeks ago now, he had the trousers on as well. He pulled them out of the suitcase. So we know that he's a proud Scot and he'd love to represent Scotland like he did in the BDO for many times. And he was very successful at that. I wouldn't be surprised if he's a lot higher than the 7th ranked Scot this time next year, though, because he's made a good impact in the PDC so far this year. He is going to be in the World Championship at the end of the year. So I do see him climbing the rankings even more. And I don't think he'll be the 7th highest ranked Scot this time next year. Getting in the top 2 might be a bit of a stretch for now, but I do think one day we will see Alan Suter playing in the PDC World Cup for Scotland.
I can see it as well. And I think instead of saying let's extend it to 7 players each, I see where he's going there. Number one, I think he probably doesn't need to extend it to 7 because, again, Gary has feelings about this. But also, why do we need to extend it to 7? Why can't we just have a firefighter? If anything, the PDC has proven it needs a firefighter on duty. They had a fire alarm in the middle of the night at the hotel where everybody was staying at. It would be so appropriate. And also, Alan's got a great sense of humor with that as well, where he said he would run in while everybody else ran out. It's very funny. But yeah, I think with the game he's got, he's not going to be the 7th highest ranked. He's not going to want the 7th highest ranked because he will make it eventually to the World Cup. He might in future, depending on how things go, even play with Peter Wright or John Henderson. It's just a matter of who shows up when. So I think we're probably not going to make it out to 7, Alan. we might be able to shout it out to 3, and I think you could build your way up to 3. But that might even be a push. But I do think we'll see him there in the future at some point.
And our last question for this week comes from Christopher O'Rourke, who says, do you think doubles should come into play more in darts or even just in the World Cup?
So in terms of the fact that everybody loves them, I think there should be more. I think there should be more events with doubles. There should be more doubles in general. In terms of the World Cup, if we all want the doubles, then let's have it start with doubles, so that we at least get one round of doubles in for each one and see that before we break into individual groups. Then you don't even have to extend the format if you don't want to extend the format. And then we get some more doubles. Let's do that. But I think it is a fun format. I think it would be fun if there was more events that included it, or if they had an event that specifically was solely doubles, considering everybody's clamoring for it. There's always room for innovation in the PDC, and people want this type of tournament. I don't think that the PDC has to alter an existing tournament, although it would be fun. I don't think they have to do much more. I think once COVID is under control and there's events to be set up, and they are masters of setting up events, as we've seen, they're working on setting up women's events, and they're just branching out with more and more challenge tour and development tour type events. It could be one to add to the calendar. It would be wildly popular. It would be a lot of fun. It would be something that people would like to see. So it's something to consider for the pathway of something new, not new, but desirable in the future. And yeah, let's see more of it somewhere, but it can't have the World Cup just be it. I can't get over the tactics. But yeah, let's see more of it somewhere. Find me a place. Let's make it so.
Yeah, I mean, I agree as well. It'd be great to see the PDC branch out into other events. And we've asked the question before on the show to Matt Porter, Barry Hearn, about maybe doing a doubles event, including all the tour card holders, and doing a random draw maybe for it, doing it over a weekend. But they've said at the minute they're not really looking at it. It's not an appetite for them at the moment. They're looking to do other events, but maybe one day that attitude will change, and maybe they will decide to do a doubles event. But if we are looking for doubles, you're probably looking away from the PDC. You're looking at the WDF. A lot of their events, they run the singles. They also run the pairs as well. The Dutch Open, one of the biggest events that they run in the WDF system, the final is played on the stage. The final, the ladies, the final, the men. So you do get to see that doubles on the stage. But it is very rare that you get to see these doubles games go on. I personally think it'd be great to see maybe at the World Masters or the World Championship, maybe do a pairs event, or the best 4 pairs during the year, they get to play at Lakeside and play a pairs or something like that. I think it'd be nice to see, a nice little touch. And for me personally, I love playing the pairs on a Wednesday night in my darts league, because it takes the pressure off me, because I'm not very good. So if I have a good partner in the pairs, then I let them get all the big scores and I chuck in the odd 45-26 and keep it going. But yeah, definitely for me, more pairs would be nice.
And that's it for this week's episode. Thank you all for listening. Thank you to all of our guests that we've had. Very exciting to be on, so thank you for having me on. Burton, get better. I know you're already in the progress of getting better, so hopefully by the time we get this edited and released, you're feeling perfect and are ready to come back next week, because people can only handle so much of this specific American accent. They require yours. It's been good to be back on. We've made it through what hopefully will be the biggest portion of the darts calendar, with events starting to come back, and hopefully we've got COVID under control enough that this will carry on forward, and we'll have more and more and more to discuss as time goes on. It's certainly been exciting as it's been back. So yay, Sexy September carries on, and whatever it is that he decided to come up with for October before he completely derailed his brain for Burton's thing, will be exciting to look forward to. And I'm going to be in Gibraltar, so I am super excited for actually getting out to see some darts myself. The last darts that I was physically at was the BDO at the O2, so it'll be a weird change of things to have gone so long without getting into the event. So looking forward to it. So bring on Sexy September.
Yes, echo all of that, and looking forward to seeing the Hang Tight sign make a return in Gibraltar. That will be great to see, and hope you have a great time there. And Hannah, appreciate you stepping in at relative short notice to come and join me and have a chat about all things darts. And big shout out as well before we go to Dean Moss, who helped with all the guests on this week's show, getting them in touch with us. So thanks very much to Dean. We should give a mention as well to our chat that Burton had with the PDC Chief Executive Matt Porter. That is on our feed underneath this episode, so go and have a listen to that as well. And lastly, before we go as well, just a nod to our Dartscast trivia. Gordon Skinner, one of our Patreon members, was first in with the correct answer. The question was, how many players have represented Wales in the PDC World Cup? The correct answer was 6. He was first in, so congratulations, Gordon. And here is the darting nerd Matthew Kernan himself with this week's Dartscast trivia.
Well, it's been a long time coming, but the new county dart season gets underway this weekend. But what we want to know is how many different counties has the world number 2 Peter Wright played for? That's how many different counties has the world number 2 Peter Wright played for? Good luck.
And if you want to get involved in the Dartscast trivia, just tweet us your guess, what you think the answer is. And as always, first one to get it will get a shout out on next week's show. That's all the time we've got. I'm going to finish off now. Hannah, thanks again for your time. Burton, all the best to you. Hopefully we'll have you back again soon. And I'll sign off as Burton would with a hang tight.